What's going on, Jam Fam? Welcome back to the Gaming Station. We're on the second to last episode of the Meta series, and today we're going to be covering Bounty. One of my more active subscribers, Wolf Festive, has been requesting this video for a little while, so this one's for you, Steve. I got you. As always, I'm using win and pick rates to pick the brawlers for my meta list. I'm sure by now all of you guys are familiar with it, but if you're not, you can go check the gem grab video and then check out the other videos because I've done it for pretty much every mode. Bounty is the second to last one, and then Duo Showdown is going to be the very last one. All right, with all that out of the way, let's just jump into the honorable mentions. And the first honorable mention I got is Sprout.
Hello.
Right now, Sprout has the #1 win rate at 69.9%, but he's only 11th in use rate at 2.43%, so he didn't quite make the list this time. Personally, I really like Sprout and Bounty. He's got good range for his thrower, and he can use his walls to make cover for himself and his team when they're in a pinch. Not to mention his shield and grass-eating star power have great synergy, and they can keep you alive in a fight for a very long time, especially for a thrower. But yeah, Sprout's a really good brawler for Bounty. Personally, I play him in Bounty a lot, so I highly recommend playing him there. And then my last honorable mention is going to be Piper. Now, right now, Piper has the 10th highest win rate at 60.8% and the 4th highest use rate at 8.15%. Those numbers are good enough to make the list, but she didn't quite make it this time. Of course, Piper is pretty much always going to be one of the best brawlers for Bounty. She's got, I think, the longest range of the game, or the second longest range in the game. And then on top of that, her super gives her escapability, and both her gadgets can work in Bounty depending on what comp you're faced against. I would recommend running Homemade Recipe more often than the Knockback gadget, just to give you a little more leeway when you need to finish off a kill. It gives you a little bit more of a easier time to aim at them. So I don't really feel like I need to say much more about Piper. We all know that Bounty is one of her best modes, and her numbers are almost there to make the meta list, so I just threw her in the honorable mentions. All right, now let's get into my top 5. Number 5 on the list is going to be Aphid. Right now, Aphid has the 9th highest win rate at 61.2% and the 10th highest use rate at 2.46%. So I've talked about Aphid in pretty much every video at this point, I feel like. I'm just going to say all the same stuff again. Good range, a lot of health, and his newfound mobility from his gadget and star power have really fixed the only weakness that was in his kit. And this is all really starting to show on these meta lists because this is, I know for a fact, the third mode that he's made the cut for. The other two I can think of are Heist and Gem Grab for sure. So yeah, I'm not going to spend too much more time on 8-bit. This is just another mode that he ranked in, and he fits pretty well in it, so play 8-bit if you want to push him. Bounty's just another mode that he can perform in. Alright, you guys ready for everyone's favorite brawler? Number 4 on the list is actually going to be Mortis. Surprisingly enough, Mortis has the 8th highest win rate at 61.6% and the 2nd highest use rate at 15.1%. So Mortis has always been pretty good in Bounty. He has very good burst damage, and he serves as a very good counter pick for some popular brawlers in the mode. Examples of those being Tick, Piper, and Sprout. Not to mention, Mortis did also receive 2 buffs in the last 2 rounds of balance changes, making his super easier to recharge and healing him more now. But one of the biggest things I think that helps Mortis get a spot on this list is the fact that he fits in one of the more popular comps in Bounty, that being the Nani Mortis comp, where his sole job is to protect Nani while Nani just sends out peeps to bomb the enemy. So if you're going in with an organized team, that's the comp I would recommend running. But if you're playing with randoms, you got to make sure you're careful about what brawlers you're going after. Try to focus on throwers, and be careful when approaching long-range brawlers. Make sure you're using walls and stuff like that. So yeah, Mortis made the list. Everyone can rejoice and stop harassing me about Mortis not being good in certain modes. And now we can move on to number 3. Number 3 is actually going to be another part of that Mortis Nani comp, and it's going to be Bo. Right now, Bo has the 5th highest win rate at 62% and the #1 overall pick rate at 15.6%. So Bo works really well on a lot of Bounty maps because he's got good range and he's got good health, so it's hard to burst him down from afar unless you get hit by like a Piper shot and then like a Sprout shot or something like that. And then of course his mines offer great area of control, especially if you have his stunning star power. But like I said with Mortis, Bo's here because of that Nani Mortis comp. And Bo's role in that comp is to bring his supercharging totem, so Nani can just camp out, charge her super, and then throw peeps at the enemy nonstop for the entire game. So we're going to move on to our number 2 brawler, and if you're not sensing a trend yet, number 2 is going to be Nani.
Be careful.
Right now, Nani holds the 3rd highest win rate at 64.5% and the 3rd highest use rate at 13.96%. Of course, Nani is really good for Bounty. Her kit is just super solid overall, has good range, does a ton of damage, and your super allows you just to hang out in your spawn and get really long distance kills. So I've already talked enough about the Bo, Mortis, Nani comp, and again, this is the 3rd brawler in that comp to make this list, so clearly this comp is very overpowered right now. The last thing I'm going to add is that Nani is the main killer in this comp, and that you want to be running her damage star power, not her shield one, obviously. That way you can maximize the amount of damage you do and possibly one-shot the squishier brawlers or even the mid-tier health brawlers if you're really good at steering the peep. So yeah, Nani's just a solid brawler for bounty, and then I highly recommend trying this comp out, but if not, she can do pretty well on her own as well. And we're going to move on to the number 1 brawler, and number 1 is actually going to be Mr. P. Right now, Mr. P has the 2nd highest win rate at 69.8% and the 8th highest use rate at 4.27%. So, Mr. P has 2 really good star powers, one allowing him to keep pressure on the enemy by constantly spawning his porters out, and the other one giving him a range buff, which is really nice to have on the longer range, more open maps, like Shooting Stars, I think is the name of the one I'm thinking of. And I think another thing that helps bolster Mr. P's win rates is the fact that he's kind of a counter to the Bo, Nani, Mortis comp. Like, his porters can go and do damage to Nani if Mortis isn't around, and on top of that, Mortis has a hard time dealing with those porters because of his super long reload speed. And then you take into account that Mr. P can always shoot over the wall to take out the super totem, which after you take out all the super totems, it makes Nani a lot less effective because it's a lot harder for her to charge her super. I'm not saying that's the only reason why Mr. P is on this list, because he is a pretty solid bounty brawler. I'm just saying that's why his win rates might be inflated to be number 2 overall. So while I feel like Mr. P is a little star power dependent, he is pretty good in bounty, and I would say he's pretty comp independent. You can pretty much run him with randoms and he'll do pretty well. So give him a try and let me know what you think. So just to recap the list, we got 8-Bit, Mortis, Bo, Nani, and Mr. P. Of course, like I said, 8-Bit's just super strong right now. He's very solid in the meta. Bo, Nani, and Mortis all fit really well in that comp, and then Mr. P serves as both a good bounty brawler and a counter to that comp. So personally, this list all makes sense in my head. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments, and let me know what brawlers you really like to play in bounty. So we got one mode left to go. That's going to be Duo Showdown. We'll have that out in a couple of days, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, want to wrap this video up now. Want to thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.